Welcome to the Beyond Business Podcast. We have another great conversation for you today. Today we're sitting down with Tom Strecker. He is our lead senior developer here at Beyond Blue Media, and we're talking all things websites. Now, may or may not be exciting for you, but if you're wanting to take your site to the next level or understand if it's successful in serving your end user, or even if you need to trade off performance at a certain point, this is a conversation for you. Tune in now. Tom, thanks for sitting down with me today.
Good to be here.
It's a pleasure to look at someone just almost as handsome as me.
Almost.
Almost.
Yeah.
As I said, you are lead senior developer.
That's right.
Can mash those words however you want. So I thought this might be a helpful conversation just to get practical, and you can, go super intellectual, but also bring it down to earth for
Sure.
the average business owner. So I thought I'd give you a softball out of the gate.
Okay.
What is a website?
Oh, man. We're starting philosophical, huh? A website's just an online property for you to display your business. It's like a storefront. It's any way to reach out to a customer. The nice thing about a website is that it's also interactive, so it can kind of take the place of a salesperson, informational person. I don't know what you would call that. It's informational.
Person.
Yeah, a person, a human on the phone. So it's really just an online property to get people to see what your business is. You can sell things on it. The sky is the limit, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
What can't they do these days?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I thought then, I've obviously enjoyed, as you've taken over our department and team for the past year plus, your conviction and heartbeat around how you approach websites. And so I feel like there's a lot to unearth there, but maybe a good starting point is there a simple way of looking at something, like I know we've analyzed sites in the past and saying there's a large difference between a site, not to bash on you, but like a Wix and a Squarespace versus a custom site, and where a business owner should fall within. I keep hitting my mic, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Should fall within that range of, maybe I'm just kind of getting to the point of the question here of just like at a basic level, how can I look at something and say, this is really well done, or this is kind of just a simple setup?
Yeah. I think there's a few different things to look at. The first is when you're looking at a website, you don't necessarily just want a website for the sake of having a website. The first question to ask is, what is this actually going to do for my business? Like, what do I want people to do when they get to this website, and does it accomplish those goals? So when you're starting, having a clear definition of what success looks like, I think is probably the most important thing. And even if you have an existing website, what does success look like for that website? One of the things is, does it present your business well? Does it look good? Is it fast? In the world of the web, looks do matter. And it's the same as if you have a sales guy walking up to you with, a ripped t-shirt and, just not looking great. You're probably less likely to use that than
websites
else.
are a lot like high school. Looks do matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they're kind of vain.
They're vain, yes. Or the web developers are.
Well,
least,
maybe
so.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I think, just the first thing to check is if you're looking. So I guess kind of two sides is, if you already have a website, how do you know if it's good? Is probably would you rephrase the question? So.
Yeah, kind of analyzing. As I look at my current site, is this fulfilling what it should be doing?
Okay,
Do I need something more, I guess, at a different level?
Yeah, so I think looking at your current website, the first thing to do is define what you want the user to do. And a really useful tool is to go to any page at all and just see, is there a path from where I am right now to the action that I want the user to take? Is there a way that I'm telling them that I want them to do this? Like, if I'm on the About page, I probably want to learn about you, but why do I want to learn about you? And what's the action that I would next want to take from there? So if, for example, you're selling something, then you would want the About Us to have a very clear path towards, if you mention a product, make sure the product's linked. If you mention something that you do, link that off to something that involves that. Like, if you have sustainably sourced materials, and you have a product that is like sustainably sourced, link to that. Make sure that they have an immediate path to go where they want once you catch their interest. And then, another thing from there is just, is it usable? a lot of websites, the owner will look at it very differently from the consumer. And so the owner will click through all the pages and make sure that it looks nice. But a visitor might not use it the same way. And so try to approach it from, as a visitor, you land on the homepage, where do you want to go? And what do you want to learn? I think that's one of the most important things to look at.
Yeah, it mirrors something Amanda and I touched on when we talked together, and she was approaching it from the digital advertising side, but the continual rhythm that we often have to help people think through of, and I find this really a lot more, not even just in digital ads, but on websites, where the brand and the website itself is just a reflection of what the business owner wants to see and what they want to see on a website and what looks nice, or color schemes or layout. And oftentimes it's, you really, as you're touching on, have to reshift that back to like, okay, but what is your end customer and client want?
Yeah.
What's the experience they're expecting? So this, just to put you on the spot a little bit, as I think that's really helpful in terms of the user journey. If I'm an HVAC business owner versus an e-commerce business, obviously those are two very different industries, but as a business owner, how should I be thinking through the ideal journey of my user and maybe getting myself out of the way and saying, okay, this is not about what I think website should look like, but then what should it look like to these users? And to continue my open-ended question, are there any resources out there or people that are consistently publishing data to say users expect this out of a site? 80% of people do this when they get to a website.
I think probably the most useful resource, honestly, is a friend or someone else that is not personally invested in your website, because they'll look at it from their perspective as a user. Just talking to anyone who approaches it differently from you is probably the most valuable thing you can do. As far as resources, a quick Google search will come up with lots of different ways to try to structure your website. But I think probably the most valuable resource is, again, just those external people. And also check out what other people are doing. See what, if you're an HVAC business, look at other HVAC businesses and use their website, because to them, you are a user. And so if you see something on their website that you think is really great, then that's probably something to take note of. And if you see something where you're feeling led astray or something's not quite adding up for you, then that's a good thing to make note of and solve on yours, because then it's a direct competitive advantage rather than just a nebulous best practices kind of thing. I think those are probably the most valuable resources you're going to find as far as just what you as a business owner can do. And especially for a development team, having a solid example is always incredibly helpful. So if you see something that you like, make sure to let your development team know. Whoever's building your website, examples are great. It's very, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So,
yeah, that's really good. Maybe related in this path that we're now on here, we're on a journey and we're going back. In the vein of user experience, performance has obviously been increasingly a hot button topic. And really, it feels like for honestly probably the past 5 years. I can't remember what year Google pushed out that large core update where they really started punishing poor performance. Do you remember what year that was?
It was a while ago. Okay. Yeah.
It was probably during COVID, which is why I don't remember it, because that was just a black hole.
But I think it was before then.
Maybe. So anyway, obviously that was quite a large shift. And, even sites like Nike, Amazon, like these industry giants actually got penalized a little bit because they were behind and had to adjust. So this is, again, probably a much deeper topic, but maybe at a surface level, you and I have worked on a couple of projects recently where we've had to wade through and find the right balance of a really high quality site that has maybe interactive video and imagery and is a positive experience while not sacrificing major performance. So what does that look like in your head as we're sitting down with a client and understanding their vision, and how you strike that balance and figure out where sometimes it's okay to sacrifice maybe page load speed, knowing that someone will stick on the page longer and Google will understand that user process?
Yeah, it's always a trade-off between functionality and looking good and doing what you want it to do, and speed. The fastest website in the world is a white document that's just a list of things that you do. I mean, that's of course not going to actually work.
Crouton.net.
Crouton.net.
For all our listeners, Crouton.net. Go look it up.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Fastest site in the world.
It is incredibly fast. Yeah. So I think the most important thing is to just be intentional with those trade-offs. Understand that a video can add a lot of visual appeal to your website, but make sure that if you're going to do that, it's not just for the sake of having a video, it's intentional and that it's displaying what you want, and keep it as concise as possible, because every second of video, you're trading performance for some of that video. So if you have a 2-minute long video, odds are people aren't going to be watching that behind your header the whole time. Maybe a 10-second just reel of your best work, something like that, will do the job just fine. And I mean, there are, like, a video is an example, but there are absolutely ways that you can optimize a video. So it's one example. If you want a video on the site, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be penalized for performance. You can load the video in later. You can use an image as a placeholder while the video loads behind it. So it's just the first frame of the video loads immediately, and then the video loads and replaces that first frame. So again, that's still a trade-off between performance and user experience, though, because then there is a moment where the video is frozen and then it plays. In that case, I think that's well worth the trade-off in performance, because you're getting a significant boost in performance for what I would say is a very minor change in user experience. So just being intentional with those. And then, of course, a dev team will help you out with that. I mean, that's why we exist. Like, we're here to try to help you bridge that gap. So if you have an idea, we can say that's a good idea, but maybe we can approach it differently. Maybe here's some compromises we can make to get that edge in performance. But yeah, I mean, just be intentional.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's some good nuggets there. Like, even the video comment of, it's not necessarily a negative trade, but the longer this video runs, you're starting to sacrifice things. So yeah, that really probably then just makes you really intentional with what the video is showing. Because every second is that precious. Making sure it's, in your point, a header video does not need to be a 2-minute loop.
Right.
Because it really should just be engaging, draw them in, and, like, you tying back to your earlier point, what is success? Success is not somebody staring at a homepage video for 2 minutes and then bouncing.
Yeah, right. And they're not going to be watching the video behind the header the whole time. If you want, you can have a video linked below, and then that's not going to really impact performance because it loads after the web page loads. So, like, if you have an embedded YouTube video or an embedded Vimeo video, that can have as much content as you want. The header's not really a place for that. So it really is just that trade-off of what's actually valuable and what's a valuable use of performance and what's not a valuable use of performance.
Yep. Yeah, that's really good. So another question I had that I think would be helpful to try and break down. So there's, I won't ask this all at once, but there's an individual side and then an agency side. So
yeah,
on the individual side, tale as old as time. We have somebody come in, they're an entrepreneur, bootstrapping it, trying to put things together with a limited budget. We get that. And they've used their nephew, niece, cousin, like wife, whoever it is, who either knows enough to be dangerous, or maybe they use Squarespace or tried to custom code something on WordPress. Obviously, our conviction is that we want to hit a really high level of development, and so we use local developers, but there's even, as you've touched on, a difference there between, even if you had 2 developers in the same country or state, there could still be a separation. So for you, as we try and break it down, is there a way, or maybe some questions that somebody can ask if they're trying to revamp a site? And we get it, right? Sometimes you have to bootstrap and somebody needs to build something that'll serve a purpose until the next phase. But when they're ready to grow and hit the next level, are there ways that they can feel that out if they're interviewing another developer or agency to understand the level that developer will bring? And it's not just, I had a CS degree and I know my way around some code, but I actually understand how the code should be functioning for you.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because if you already know all the questions to ask to know if someone can build a website well, you would probably have built the website yourself already. So it's like a difficult trade-off there of, I think focusing on technical knowledge, there is going to have to be a bit of trust. There are some things that you can do to feel that out, though. probably the most important is just, do they get a feel for what I actually want? Especially in the world of development. And I think this is pretty common. If you give someone a task, they'll check it off and call it done. See if they actually understand why they're doing that task. In my experience, most developers know how to develop once they reach a certain level of skill. The question is, are they developing the right thing? And so do they understand what you're trying to do? Do they really know what success is for you? Or are they just interested in, you want a website, here's a website, like, call it job done. Now, there are some other things to ask. I would say one of the most important things is just ask them what technology they're using. It doesn't necessarily, there's not necessarily one to look for, but they should have reasons why they're using it, and they should know why they want to go a certain direction with your website. Same with, asking for previous websites that they've built is a great way to tell.
Portfolio.
Yeah, some kind of portfolio or just previous experience.
Well, and like you just said, I wonder if it would be a helpful exercise if you look at their portfolio and chose a site and then, politely grilled them a little bit and said, hey, as you're developing this, why did you make this decision? Why is this here? How is this enhancing the user journey? Because to your point, if they knew all the technical language, they should probably just be a developer themselves. But
sure, yeah.
I wonder if that's helpful, like a hot seat interview.
Oh, yeah. I think, developers should be really enthusiastic to talk about why they did that. So, if they were intentional and they chose things for a real reason, they'll be very excited to tell you all of the reasons why. And the hard part will probably be getting them to stop telling you why and moving forward. But
sure.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Well, then on the agency side, I think those are really helpful tidbits. But as you came from a company that was really just more strictly website development, and then stepping into more of an agency setting where we have development, SEO, digital ads, social media, a lot of these pieces playing together. I wanted to see and pick your brain a little bit of why you think that's an advantage. And, I'm not trying to sell any listener on an agency setting, but from a development experience, just to maybe feed you some of the thoughts I have. I've noticed when we have a design, designers love to make a really complicated, pretty homepage. Doesn't mean it's going to perform well or be easy to develop or even rank well for Google. So where have you seen that balance of, as a developer, the fruit of working with a collective team to say, okay, this is not just a website that's going to go out to the world, but it also needs to rank well, convert well with ads, and be a good end point for the user.
Yeah, I think probably the number one advantage to an agency is just the collective knowledge. A developer should have a pretty good feel for basic SEO practices, for performance, for things like that. But it's never going to match someone that's their entire job. That's what they've dedicated themselves to. So, for example, here, like just being able to look over and ask Leanne a question, who's been a SEO person for her professional career, is incredibly helpful. I think it's also a matter of overhead for the person that's trying to build the website for the client, because there are good web development agencies that just do web development. There's good SEO agencies that just do SEO. But then whose job is it to bridge that gap? If it's all under one roof, then that's handled for you. Otherwise, you're going to have to dedicate some time to managing that. If you're not interested in being a manager for separate teams, then having one team is definitely the way to go. I think that's probably the biggest advantage as far as business owners are concerned. From my side, the biggest advantage is the collective knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. Well, I think this is probably a really good taste and start of. There's obviously so many things we can go deeper on, but trying to keep this informational and packed, and then if people have follow-up questions, they can do that. So to maybe put a nice bow on the conversation, probably a little too soon, but that's okay. My usual ending question is just simply, if you had to recap this conversation, what we've touched on, if there was one thing that a listener could walk away with that would help them take their business beyond and to the next step, what would that be of all the things that we've kind of covered? Hey, don't forget this one critical point.
Yeah, I think the two main takeaways would be understand what you want out of the website. If you want a website, you'll probably get a website. It won't necessarily do what you need it to do. So be clear on, I want a website and I want it to sell high-end clients on a service, or I want it to get people to be inspired to do something, or I want to sell a product because they believe in what I'm doing. Have some idea of what success looks like. And then having an endpoint makes it much easier to build towards that endpoint.
Yeah, that's great. I love that, of define success. And I love reverse engineering. So you're speaking my love language of start with what the end goal is and work your way backwards from there.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best things you can do for any technical project, especially something like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, thank you. We'll have to continue to get you any other opportunities in our other internal podcast and continue to flesh these things out for people. But I think this is really valuable. So thanks for sharing your brain with me.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.